Alright, this is the last video I'm going to do on this topic. This is my 1960 bicycle. This was sold as a Royce Union, which was a house brand of a retail chain in New York called Times Square Stores, TSS. And somehow, at some point, it ended up in Michigan in a field, rusted out, and now it looks like this. So, what I did was I made this as original as I could, while also um, updating it and turning it into an e-bike. So, even though it's now an e-bike, a great deal of this is original. So I'll just walk you through a little bit of what I did. As part of the rebuild, I took this bike completely apart, the total frame off. It was sort of a bronze color, but it was faded from a metallic red-orange, which is what it started out as. After I got everything stripped down, I had the frame, the fork, the fenders, and the metal part of this battery box all painted this nice shade of green. And and the chain guard as well. Every bit of chrome on here was rusted. I knocked as much of the rust off as I could, and so when I took it apart, I also tore down this 3-speed rear hub completely, and cleaned all the rust out of it and serviced it and lubed it. As far as new stuff, I did fit a new front brake. This is a Tektro R559, which is a dual pivot brake. It's quite a bit stronger than what it came with. It initially had a Weinmann single pivot, so that's a good upgrade. In the back, the Tektros wouldn't reach, so I ended up using this, which is another single pivot. This is actually off of my Schwinn. The this was a this is a Diacomp instead of a Weinmann, and it's still geometrically unfavorable, but it's a much better built caliper. And I also use the Tektro pads on it. Did not come with a kickstand. I fitted one. I do not want to hear arguments for or against kickstands. And then while I used the rims, this motor hub is new, so I had to rebuild this wheel with new spokes to fit this hub. This hub also came with kind of a matte black paint on it, which didn't fit this bike at all. So I had to knock all of the paint off of that. And I made it look as much as I could like it was just a dyno hub. And that includes fitting this Sturmey Archer headlight off of a Rally Superb. Um, this has an LED light in it, just a replacement screw-in light, and the switch works. Instead of being wired into the hub, it's wired into a 12 volt regulator, so it can use any 12 volt light bulb. I ended up having to replace this shifter. The original one was just too rusted out. But I found this one, which is the same time period, so it's got the text facing the right way to have the whole thing facing this way, so that you can grab it with your thumb instead of reaching out here. I polished up the brake levers, obviously new cables on everything, and got a Brooks saddle for it. The saddle it came with was vinyl, and it would have been fine when it was new, but it was not fine anymore. As far as the electric conversion part of it, um, this uses a Kunteng compatible controller. This has an integrated thumb throttle, and then while this uses the brake levers that it came with, they have sensors on them now, so that as you grab the brake, um, the motor disengages, and then it will re-engage when you let go of both brakes. I did a completely custom harness for this. So from the headlight and from the brake levers and from the controller, that all goes into this, which then goes down into this copper pipe, which is brushed and clear coated, so it should look like that for a long time. Then it goes round and back and into the controller here. The controller is in this part of the box, and then the battery is just a slide-on unit. There's also a small wire here, which runs down this relatively straight, also cloth-wrapped thing to a pedal sensor. The pedal sensor would normally be a plastic ring that you would put this little sensor next to, but in the interest of integrating it, I mounted the magnets to the inside of the chainring and bolted the sensor to a boss on the frame, because this frame supports a full chain case, but it doesn't have one, so I had a spare bolt hole. So that's screwed into place. Let's see, I had to notch out the kickstand to make that fit. Had to replace the pedals, but I found ones that pretty much visually match, except they've got reflectors on them. Found a guy who does replacements, rally, cotters, because I had to beat the shit out of these to get them out. And yeah, look at that thing, so pretty. So we've got a key here to lock the battery into this thing, not for security so much as just to keep it from falling out. Also, I've mentioned before, but this rack was black when I got it, and it was a bear to clean all of the paint off of that, but it really needed to be this color. So if we unlock the battery, that just slots out and you can see where it separates. And this whole thing just pulls out. It can be charged in place, so it doesn't even really have to come off the bike. We've got a reflector with a light on it. Also got the stock fairy lights reflector that the bike came with. And then there's a switch right here for the power. And once that's on, you can check the battery status. As long as the battery is turned on, you have power to the regulator for the 12 volt. So you have light. And you also have power to the controller, which has an integrated speedo on it. You can use the throttle there, and then this lets you set your pedal settings. So as you're pedaling, it'll apply different amounts of power depending on what assist setting you're at. So we're at 1. So if I boost the throttle here, it'll try and go. Yeah, that's more or less it. I don't think I can talk for a full 15 minutes about a bike. But this represented something like a year of work off and on, and it's almost finished. The only stuff I have left to do is I need to find someone who can resilver the reflector in the headlight. And then I'm going to be talking to someone tomorrow about getting a badge made up for the front. But past that, it is absolutely ready to go. My goal for this was to make a bike that looked as old as it is, because it's 63 years old. So I didn't want it to look like it was brand new. But I wanted it to look like it was really nice. And I wanted it to not be immediately apparent that it was an EV conversion. And I have to say, I'm really proud of how it turned out. But I'm also no good at tooting my own horn. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Have an excellent evening.